Thanks once again for coming to the 2011 conference for Noahide Nations. I want to introduce the next guest. I was going to read a long CV, and I realized I just stepped up here without my folder, so I'm going to have to just give you something off the top of my head and tell you that I've known this man for a number of years now. We actually worked together on the radio, and he of course was, we were both co-host of the Noahide Nations radio show on Israel National Radio. He's still co-hosting the show, and he's done something I think remarkable. He founded the organization called Noahide Nations, which is the reason we're even here today. And I've had a lot of talks with Ray over the years, and it's, you know, this is not an easy thing, running an organization like this, because I think Ray, I'm going to tell him, I'm going to sort of talk out of school, because Ray often feels the burden. You know, he wants the whole world to become Noahides. We all do, I think, in this room. I mean, that's the plan. Except for folks like you, Avraham Sutton. We'd rather you stay a Jew. That's right, you're also a Noahide. So, you know, you got that part taken care of. So no going back, folks. Okay. Somebody once said to me, Jim, a Jewish friend said to me, Jim, why would you ever want to stop at 7 laws? And I said, my goodness, I said, what would happen in the world right now if every nation in the world began observing all 7 laws of Noah? I mean, world peace would break out. And this man knows that better than anything, and it's his hope that this will come speedily in our day. So I want to introduce you to the gentleman who is the founder and director of Noahide Nations, and he deserves your applause for putting together an amazing conference, because I love the showers in this hotel, Ray. I do. I'm not kidding. I love them. I may stay here just for the showers. Okay? All right, friends. Ray Pettersen, please.
And hopefully I'll be able to read this on the side here. I wasn't going to show this slide right at the moment, but since it's already up, I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. I'm reminded at this point, when I came down this morning, I was stopped by a gentleman who was very kind in expressing his enthusiasm for me and what we of Noahide Nations have put together here. The speakers, the rabbis, the caliber of these rabbis. And it reminded me, and we're both very, we were very fond of a gentleman and very fond of the things that he had accomplished in his life on behalf of Gentiles and the things that he has done for the Jewish people, and that's Vendel Jones. Vendel, you know, God bless him. He, for those of us who know him, oftentimes when you hear the saying, "Oh, that's just Vendel being Vendel," you all know what I'm talking about, and that kind of hit me today, and I'm reminded of some of the things that he did for us. And my question to this gentleman this morning was a concern that I had prior to Vendel's passing. And that, my friends, is what was going to happen to the Noahide, to this thing that we call a movement. What was going to happen to it when Vendel left? When he went home, what was going to happen to the Noahide movement? It was a deep concern that I had. Is it just going to fold up the tent and just be gone? Just be a relic? Kind of become that which Vendel sought all his life, antiques? And Noahide becomes an antiquity at that point. And that concern, and this was after I already had started Noahide Nations, but that concern is what helped drive me. Believe me, it was a driving force. And certainly without the help of Hashem, this that's going on here now could not have possibly have happened. Because one person cannot do all of this. And to help kind of answer this question, which was so interesting that it would come up first thing this morning, was how do we continue on? How do we keep moving forward? How do we move forward as a group of Noahides? How do we move forward as a world Noahide community? How do we do that? A lot of people don't know. And so, inasmuch as I dislike using PowerPoint presentations, because I usually like to just speak from the heart and just lay it out there, I'm going to kind of be forced, because I want to ask a few questions of the group here to think about, to just really ponder. And the first question I thought of is, does anyone know how many Noahides that there are in the world? Does anyone know? Do I see a hand? You cannot imagine how many times I have been asked that question. Why? Because you're the founder of Noahide Nations. I'm somehow supposed to know the answer to that. I truly don't. But there's a lot of us out there. There are people who are out there that are Noahides, don't even know they're Noahides. They're hanging out in the churches waiting to be found, waiting to find us. So we have to kind of stick a hand out. We have to kind of be partners with Hashem. As Jim mentioned, one of my goals, and absolutely made it happen in my lifetime, is the world becomes Noahide. The Gentile nations become the Noahide nations. That is one of my goals. And with Hashem's help, it will happen, but I also understand it will happen in His time. But that was a question that really intrigued me. Another question is, how many Noahide groups are there worldwide? How many? I don't know. I know there's a number of groups in the Philippines. I know there's a few groups in Brazil. We have some folks here from Australia. We have folks here from Canada. And I know there's groups around here in the United States, a number of groups. In fact, the folks who did the Erev Shabbat for us last night, they have a group in Killeen. And my wife and I, we were part of that group prior to moving up to the Dallas area. There's a group in Waco that George, and in fact, you've met a lot of his people here. George gave a beautiful Noahide service. I absolutely loved it. And he has a lot of people in his group. But as to an answer to that question, I can't answer that. Is it 10? Is it 20? Is it 100? We just don't know. But we do aim to find out. Have you ever met a Noahide before this conference? When I first got here on Thursday, I saw Jim Long and his wife chatting with a gentleman who I'd actually talked to. And I think he talked to my wife first, and he told her that, you're the first Noahide I've ever spoken to. I was the second Noahide he'd ever spoken to, ever. And when we were having our discussion, he said, well, gosh, I can't wait to meet you at the conference. I'll be the first Noahide you ever shook hands with. Well, he found Jim Long first instead of me. But how many? Is this the first time you've had a chance to actually meet a real Noahide? Has anyone here met a Noahide for the first time at this conference? There's a number of people. How can that be? How does that work? I don't understand that, and yet I do understand it. But it's a difficult concept to try and figure out, how do we change that? We hope to kind of explore some more of that here today. Do you know what the number one desire of Noahides in general is? Anyone have an idea? I have a clue, and I'm going to give you some hints here in a moment. And do you know, and this is absolutely true, and again, it's because I field, you cannot believe my email box every day, and the number of phone calls I take from both Jewish and Noahides every day, from all over the world. And I can share with you what the number one statement is, but rather than me telling you, I'm going to let them tell you. And this is going to be difficult for me to read, Jim. Can you all see that? the writing is rather small. I have hundreds of these, dating all the way back to 2005. I just went through and grabbed a few of the more recent ones because they were easy to find. But I get these constantly. Here's one. Ray, I took the names out of the ones that I knew were either going to be here or definitely didn't want their name shared. But my name is so-and-so, and I'm in Garland, Texas. I'm close by, it seems. Was wondering if you or anyone you knew ran a group in the area. Would like to meet some Noahides in person to gauge if it's right for me. Any help would be greatly appreciated. Thanks so much. Great website, by the way. That's how he found out about being a Noahide. He knew there was something wrong and started digging a little bit and found our website and began to realize, oops, that's who I am, or at least that's who I think I am. Now how do I find somebody to help confirm that? This is a recent email that I've received. Here's another one. Dear Ray, is there a Noahide community in North Jersey? I don't know. I live in Texas. I know that there's Noahides in New Jersey. Is there a group? Nobody has contacted me to tell me that, hey, Ray, there's a group. I shared a story with everyone that was here yesterday about this fellow who lived in Canada, rural area in Canada. So I gave him ideas about how to find possible other Noahides in his area. And you have to get out there and start getting out there. Put yourself out there. Risk it a little bit. And you may find that there's a Noahide living right next door to you that you never knew. Because this fella did. Found one living in his building. And him and his wife couldn't be more pleased. And again, that was as a result of the website, and also him following a little instruction, because I told him what he really needed to do, and he did it, and it worked out well for him. I suggested a number of things. First of all, I suggested that he run an ad at the time we had a Noahide directory. And people could actually run ads as a group, as an individual. I'm an individual looking for a Noahide group. We are a group, Noahides that are in the area, please join us, that type of thing. I also recommended that he gets on our Noahide Nation's Yahoo group, which is a discussion group. I also told him to continually visit the website. And this is at the time when we had our old website. The website we have now is updated and does many, many more things. Our Noahide network has grown to over 1,000 people, and we just upgraded the site maybe 5 months ago. And it works just like Facebook. And there's already groups on there. So this man went ahead and in our old directory put up an ad that he and his wife were looking for other Noahides in their area. And I'm telling you, this was a guy that lived in a rural area. And within a month, he sent me an email that he had found that somebody read his ad on our website and responded to him. And it turns out the gentleman lived in their building. That only happens one way, my friends. That's the hand of Hashem. All we did as Noahide Nations was put a bridge in place for it to happen. But if he did not put himself out there, he never would have found that person in that building. And that person was probably wondering the same thing. Am I the only one on planet Earth who gets this? Well, there's a lot of us out there. We just need to find each other. And I could go on and on. I really only have a half an hour to share with you on this. But if you read these, the general, the thing behind each and every one of these is community, or I'm going to put it this way, lack thereof. We don't have communities. We don't have groups. We have individuals who sit at home and study Torah. Is that a bad thing? Absolutely not. Are there better things? Absolutely. When you can get together and study in a group, there is just absolutely nothing like it, because you hear varying opinions, varying thought processes, and that you're able to discuss. if any of you have read any of the Talmud, you would realize there is a lot of discussion going on there. Some people would think that, oh boy, these Jews really know how to put up a good fight. These guys are discussing, they're discoursing on the whys and what fors. That we can do the same thing. In fact, I believe we're supposed to do the same thing. But you cannot do that in the privacy of your own home. Just can't do it. So the general thing that you're going to find here, and like I say, I have hundreds and hundreds of these, is people who don't have community. They're worried about their kids. I have a family right now who lives in Missouri that did everything they could to get to Texas so they could be part of a community. Why? Because of their kids. Their kids are stuck in limbo. The parents are teaching them to be a Noahide. They go to public schools. Guess what? You have a clash in a major way. So there's people out there looking, and there's always going to be people that are looking. What we need more of is people who are willing to step out there, who are willing to take the risk. People who are crazy enough to stand up in front of you and do exactly what I'm doing, is get out there, risk it. Let people find you. Let them know that you're around. And this was one of my favorite ones that I just happened to find, and I'm just going to isolate the part in blue. We are unaware of any Noahide groups of Torah teachers who work with Gentiles in their area. We have been educating ourselves by listening to many Torah teachers over the internet. However, this still leaves a void, since there are no friends or community with whom they can share their lives. That statement, my friends, basically says what all the other hundreds and hundreds of emails that I receive say. There's more than just sitting at home, listening to the internet, listening to a CD. There's fellowship. There's associating with people who think like we think, just like what we're doing right now. And I don't mean every time you get together, do you study Torah? And there's nothing wrong with that. But why can't you go bowling? Why can't you have a picnic? I heard somebody mention that he's met a number of people here from Florida, and they're going to have a big gathering, I guess, in Orlando, and have a big picnic with the Noahides in the state, because Orlando's centrally located. That's what I'm talking about. Get out there, make things happen. And Noahide nations, well, let's go ahead and ask this question. So what is the most asked question? You probably already know. Are there any Noahide communities in my area? And I think we already know the answer to that. No. And that is a sad no, my friends. But we genuinely, as Noahide nations, we really do hope to change this. And it is going to be an organizational thing. This may surprise a great many of you. When you see Noahide Nation, you see this, it's really, I'm the guy. I'm Noahide Nations. I have a lot of people who have stepped up, especially for the conferences like this, and really help out a lot. I thanked a lineup of them yesterday. But for the most part, I'm Noahide Nations. I carry on the day-to-day business of Noahide Nations. And right now, we can make some things happen. We can make some things happen. Not Ray, we. In fact, I really feel part of the problem that we're having right now and experiencing ourselves, where you kind of feel like you're stuck in the mud and you're not getting anywhere. It's because you're stuck in the mud and you're not getting anywhere. You gotta pick your feet up and start moving forward. I did this in 2005 at the urging of Hashem. And it was the urging of Hashem. And he didn't give it to me all at once. If he had, I guarantee I would have ran as fast and as far away from this as I could have. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. But when I talk with all of you, and I see smiling faces, and I see tears flowing down the cheeks of people who have been affected by what goes on at a conference like this. Then I look to Hashem and say, oh, I get it now. I understand. That's my part in all of this. You all have parts in all of this as well. Now, I do also understand that, once again, we cannot do it as individuals. We all need to band together. That's what Hashem wants from us. He doesn't expect one person to do it. Doesn't expect two people to do it. He doesn't expect one Jew to bring all the other Jews who are not Orthodox back to Orthodox Judaism. That's why there's a lot of Orthodox rabbis. Right, Rabbi? There's a lot of us here that, believe it or not, we know so much more than most Gentiles that we meet. We would surprise our own self if we actually sat down and talked to them about it. One of the things we're lacking is confidence in that. And we hope as an organization that we're going to be able to provide some of that. Noahide Nations is truly committed to this effort. And to demonstrate that, we have created an organization called the International Torah Fellowship. Now, I've done this directly under the Noahide Nations umbrella so that the naysayers, which of course there are going to be some, there always are. The naysayers cannot say that, oh gosh, Ray is taking over the Noahide movement, Ray's trying to, the Noahide Nations is trying to take it. No, that's not what this is all about. This is about trying to do what, does anyone remember Yethro? Does anyone remember Yethro? What was he known for? What did he do that was so big? Anyone? Thank you. He taught Moshe about organization, leaders of tens, leaders of hundreds, leaders of thousands. And then what did he do after he taught him that? He practiced what he preached. He went back to Midian and taught the Noahide laws. He was a main guy of Paro. He was a go-to guy for him, and he went back and changed everything. But he did it. He didn't talk about doing it. He did it. And I mean, he has a parsha named after him. Need I say more? That's how important his work was. Yethro's a Noahide. So are we. There's every reason to believe that we can do the same thing. And that's what the International Torah Fellowship is all about, in part. It's kind of what I like to call, at this point, part of it is a think tank. How do you start a community? How do you do that? Do you run an ad in the newspaper? Yeah. What kind of ad do you write? I mean, these are some of the simple things, the detailed things that a lot of us, we just really don't think about, probably because we've never really done it before. I'll give you an example. As you can probably tell, I'm not afraid to just put it all out there in whatever form, written, spoken, whatever needs to be said. I'm usually the guy who will say it, sometimes to a fault. I had established a relationship with a rabbi who was a captain, or at the time he was a captain. He may have advanced, but at the time he was a captain. He was a chaplain in the army. And he's a rabbi. One, if not the only Jew who was a chaplain. And he loved it. And we began to develop this relationship. And he asked me if I would be willing to go on base and teach a class once a week for an hour. And so here's, okay, Hashem, you're showing me another thing I get to be involved with. I'm going to hang on for a little bit and see what's going to happen here. We came up with the idea, and I wanted to let's call it a Torah class. We're going to put it out there that we're going to have a Torah class on base for soldiers, their families, and civilians, and whoever wanted to attend. He said, no, let's call it an Old Testament class. Which suddenly became obvious. That's a disarming way to put it. And we had a number of people there. I taught that class until he was actually deployed to Iraq. And for any of you who served in the military, when you get deployed, if you're running programs, it just gets shut down. Unless you choose to move to Iraq with them. I chose not to. My wife had a problem with that for some reason. But that's what we did. We ran an ad in the paper, a simple ad. We put out flyers, and then just word of mouth. And people showed up. And I can assure you that when they left there, when it was all said and done, in our last class, people had changed. And I never once tried to turn them into a Noahide. In fact, I had one gentleman there that was going to convert to Judaism because of that year-long class, which I say it was once a week for an hour. It actually wound up being 2 hours, sometimes 2.5. You know, once you get talking about Torah, it's difficult to stop. And it was then as well. But that is a very simple way to meet other people. It's a very simple way to teach Torah. Because I'm going to tell you, folks, the majority of you know more than most people out there. You just don't know that you do. So here again, we're going to help you do that, because part of the International Torah Fellowship is not just a think tank on how to start communities, it's how to build communities, it's how to maintain communities. Are any of you familiar with the RCA, the Rabbinical Council of America? Any of you? Okay, there's a few. They're basically that. They're a network of rabbis from all over America who get together, and it's a giant think tank. And in their case, for the most part, a lot of it is, how do we bring our Jews back to Torah? Okay? So that's kind of what we're doing. Because I'll guarantee you there's a lot more Gentiles that need to come back to Torah than there are Jews who need to come back to Torah. And that's part of our responsibility, is to do that. And this is one of the things that the ITF is created for, is to learn and to teach others how to build communities. What's working over here may not work over there. What's working over there may indeed work over here. But if you don't just put it out there and try it, you're never going to know. And we are partners with Hashem in all of this. We may as well face it. We haven't been very good partners. And I'm not saying that in a mean-spirited way. In fact, I'm saying it with all the love I can possibly put out without crying right now. Because we have the capacity, we have the opportunity, as Rabbi Singer said, we have found Hashem in the darkness. Who are we to continue to hide him from others? We shouldn't. And we need to start letting folks know who we are. Be proud of being a Noahide. Is there going to be resistance to this whole idea? Absolutely. There are going to be people out there who are going to tell us, communities, you're not supposed to have them. Just like we've heard people tell us, you're Noahide, you're not supposed to do Shabbat. There's all kinds of things we're not supposed to be doing. Okay? This is not true. And there's varying opinions on all of this. But I will guarantee you, I cannot find anywhere in Torah where it says that we're not supposed to fellowship, that we're not supposed to be together, that we're not supposed to share Hashem when Hashem gives us the opportunity to do that. I can't find it in Torah anywhere. In fact, I can't find it in the Tanakh at all. Why is that? It's because that's what we're supposed to do. I think I mentioned this yesterday. If you were to count all let's assume for a moment that every Jew on planet Earth was Orthodox, observant Torah, every one of them. If you counted them all up, man, woman, child, count them all up, there is not enough of them to teach an entire world Gentile population. And there is no reason to believe or expect them to do that. We can't. Are we supposed to go to them for wisdom? Yes. In fact, that's what we're here for. We're all here gaining some of that wisdom. Does that mean it stays here at the Sheraton Hotel when we're gone, when we leave? No, that goes with us. But don't hide it. Share it. You'd be surprised if we have our eyes open, Hashem will oftentimes give us opportunities, sometimes daily. One of my co-workers, in fact, he's the owner of the company that I work for, he and I have had discussions about Torah. And we just sit and talk. And he has come and attended this conference because he was so moved by our conversations. And I told him, if you were so moved by our conversations, wait till you listen and talk to some of these rabbis. You want to talk about being moved? There's just no comparison. Rabbi Sutton yesterday moved a great many people, including my associate. But we can too. It's our job. So we propose, I'm going to try and bring this to a close, at least my portion of this. What we propose as Noahide nations is to give people the, number one, instruction, number two, the confidence. And by that I mean the Noahide laws. You have to have a basic framework of the Noahide laws, and even beyond that. And if you were to study the Noahide laws, it would take a lifetime or two to actually really, to truly know the depths of them. It would take a lifetime, without question. So what we're going to do is give people the kind of the basics. Rabbi Avenir has been teaching in our Academy of Shem the 7 Noahide laws. This is your 4th cycle, Rabbi, the 4th cycle of this class. And I will guarantee you, if you're in his class for a year, you will know more than virtually every Gentile that you encounter. Anyone that would ask you a question about your belief system, you would have no problem responding to them in an intelligent way and feeling good about it. Now, his class generally runs an entire year. It's a course. It's not, let's sit for an hour and study the Noahide laws and we all have it. It's nothing of the kind. It is a process. And Rabbi Avenir has been doing it for us, for Noahide Nation, for 4 years. And he's going to be starting a new cycle in January. And with that new cycle, what we are really looking for is for people who are willing to step out and to make the commitment to start a community in their local area. But before you can really do that, you need to have some knowledge. By having knowledge, knowledge is power. Knowledge is confidence. And when you have it, you can move forward boldly. And when you see it start working, then it becomes just an awesome thing in the hands of Hashem. And then it's all you can do to stay out of his way. Because believe me, I've gotten in his way a few times, and he's not shy about pushing you to the sideline, and you're taking over my role. But we have to be partners. We have to put ourselves in a position to receive the blessings. If we're just standing on the sidelines waiting for somebody else to do it, guess what? Somebody on the other side is standing on their sideline waiting for somebody else to do it. Somebody has to step forward. And that somebody, at this point, is going to be the Noahide Nations organization. And we are proposing to start in January a brand new course in which people will actually be able to take some tests. They're going to be simple, pass-fail. We're not talking about a college program here or anything of the kind. We just want to know that, and we want you to know that you know the material. Because as you're gaining more and more of this knowledge, you're gaining more and more confidence in what is going on in you and what you as an individual have in your capacity and potentially as a George Brock, who can stand up before people and teach them a thing or two about Torah. There's a lot of us in here. I've talked with you myself. It's just waiting to come out. It's waiting to just blossom. You just don't know it yet. And we're going to do everything we can to try and water you and get you to blossom, get you to see who you really are. That's one course. A second course that we're looking at, and I'm sure everyone is familiar. Anyone here of Rabbi Tovia Singer? Anyone? Okay. Yeah, a lot of him, in fact, I mentioned this to the rabbi too because it's so true. He is probably, by mistake, by the way, turned more Gentiles into Noahides than any Jew that I know. And it was completely by mistake. It was never his intention to do that. His intention was to bring his people back to Hashem, to bring his people back to Torah. And I've always told people that I talk about Hashem about is he gives a tremendous amount of mileage out of the tiniest thing. It's truly amazing sometimes. And along the way, Rabbi Singer was able to experience that because now there are so many Noahides out there that their testimony is, I heard Rabbi Tovia Singer say, I listened to Rabbi Singer's audio CDs. I went and saw Rabbi Singer at such and such a place. That's why we're going to be offering that as a second course that you pretty much will take on your own, where you're just buying the book, buying the CDs, and you listen to it. And once again, we'll have pass-fail tests, make sure that you're learning the material. And why is that important? Most of us here have come out of Christianity and or the Messianic movement. There might be a few that have been in others, but that's the majority of the type folks you're going to run into. And it's surprising what we do know and what we do remember, but it's even more surprising what we forget and what we don't know, and we can find ourselves getting caught in the trap of not knowing, and suddenly we're sitting there with somebody that we have an opportunity to share Hashem and His Torah with, that we can't convey the proper information just because it escapes us. We know what we want to say, but we don't know what we want to say. Rabbi Singer is one of the best people at providing that information. And I can assure you that if you remember that, you will be ready for basically any Christian, any Messianic person. I don't care if they're a pastor, a priest, it just will not matter. Not only will you know the material, you will have the confidence to speak to that individual in an authoritative and intellectual way. Because in order for the Noahide movement to grow, we not only need the communities for people to flock to, where are they going to come from? Here in America anyway, they're going to come out of Christianity and the Messianic movement. And if you can't talk their language, they're not going to learn yours. It's just the way it is. So that's why we feel that Rabbi Singer's material is so important and so valuable. So those are the two things that Noahide Nations is going to be offering. But that's our side of the partnership. There has to be another side of this partnership. There's Hashem, of course, but there has to be another side in order for this to be of any benefit, of any value to anybody. And that's people responding to the call. You felt it. Many of you have felt it in your heart. Many of us are afraid of it. You know what? That's okay. Let's just know we're human. There's nothing wrong with that. But we can't be shy any longer, because the time is coming that people are going to be coming out of Christianity in droves. And if there is nowhere for them to go, that's my question. Where are they going to go? I'm sorry? And it's already happening. And I mean, they're harvesting them out of the prison system. I mean, it's a literal harvesting that's going on. So here again, this is what the Noahide Nations is pledging to do. And this is kind of my vision for the International Torah Fellowship. Within that organization, you will be able to gain continued education. You'll be able to, shall I say, elevate yourself in increasing levels by learning more classes, by running your own group for so many years. You'll be able to teach other people how to do the same thing. We have to start cultivating a leadership. Just like what Yethro said to Moshe, we must do the same thing. Let's take advantage of that lesson and start doing something with that. I'm going to share one last thing, because I always get, we got a problem, Jim? Okay, sorry. When I talk this way, I always run into those who want to resist it. They want to resist the temptation of falling back into Christianity. And you know what? I can appreciate that. But I can appreciate also having the strength in my own conviction and my own faith to know I'm not going back there. I don't care what anyone says about anything. I'm not going back there. Then there's just no way. But I bring this up because it does give me pause for thought. Not always a good thought. Sometimes they're negative. It's like, oh my gosh, Ray, are you really doing the right thing here? Because I don't know. And I ask Hashem, and I ask for Hashem for answers. And he usually when he answers in a way that is so bold. It's like, I've been telling you all along, you ain't getting it. And he'll start shaking me. He shook me yesterday. This was a remarkable thing for me. And it came straight from Hashem. Many of you know Rabbi Brody. Many people are here specifically because of Rabbi Brody. I myself have never met him. In fact, the first time I really heard about Rabbi Brody and his teachings was when I was asked to do a Noahide segment on Tamar Yona's Weekend Edition. And my segment happened to follow Rabbi Brody's segment. So in reviewing my segment, naturally I listened to Rabbi Brody's first, and I came to really like this guy. This guy really knows what he's talking about. I love this man. Yesterday was the first time I met him personally in my life. I never thought I would ever have the opportunity. I'd asked for Hashem to give me an opportunity, and he did. Only I had no idea it was going to wind up being in this fashion. And he came into the room, and one of his people pointed over to me and mentioned my name, and he came over with the biggest smile on his face. And I probably had a big old grin on my face as well, because I knew who it was, and he grabs me by my shirt. In fact, it was by my coat, my jacket that I was wearing. And he pulls me close. And he says, Ray, I have a gift for you. And I'm like, what? You have a gift for me? He says, yes, that's why I'm here. He says, I just came from a military base. He's been traveling in the United States. I just came from a military base where I talked to a major who's a chaplain. I'm not going to share his name, but he's a chaplain who, oddly enough, happens to be a Noahide. He himself tried to go to the command structure, through the command structure, to have, I don't want to wear this cross anymore. I want to wear the number 7. They denied him. You want to know why? Same reason I was denied a category for Noahide with the IRS for 501c3. We're under Judaism. I went for having our own category for the exact same reason we were denied. You're not recognized. No one knows you. You have no recognition. So no, you'll have to keep wearing the cross. So this man now has to wear the cross. Rabbi Brody says to me, you're the man. Ray, you are the man. I told Major so-and-so about you. You need to file an application with the Defense Department. I'm talking about the Department of Defense, folks. He wants me, he's going to make me file an application for recognition by the Department of Defense to recognize the Noahide so that there can be Noahide chaplains in the military. This major told Rabbi Brody that you would not believe how many Noahides are in the military. And right now they're all huddled in closets because nobody's willing to step out and get recognized. Well, apparently I'm the one who gets to attempt this journey, and with Hashem's help, we will be able to pull this off. But when I asked for confirmation, I can't imagine, I couldn't have written a script that would have been better than that. I mean, Rabbi Brody was pulling me close, very close to him, telling me this. And there were a lot of people were there, I mean, when this was all going on. And I about melted into the floor because I knew I was hearing Hashem's answer to me. Does that mean we won't have naysayers? No. They're going to get in line to come after us. Because there is an evil out there that doesn't want any of this to happen. We have to fight it. And I'm prepared to. But I can't do it by myself. We need you as well. We need people that you know. We need the people that are going to come to you and talk about, gosh, I've been thinking about this whole New Testament thing. What do you think of this? We need those people too. We need everybody. This is a partnership. This isn't a movement. It shouldn't be called a movement. It should be a partnership with Hashem. That's what this is about. And it's time for us to, dare I say it, grow up and become who Hashem expects us to be. We cannot expect the Jewish community, the rabbis, we cannot expect them to do it for us. Hashem gave us the commands, the 7 laws of Noah. They are our responsibility. And like Jim said, can you imagine what would happen if every nation was keeping the Noahide laws? We would indeed break out in world peace. We wouldn't know what to do. Could you imagine if we had world peace? We wouldn't know how to handle it. We'd think we were all gone crazy. But my friends, it's prophesied. It is going to happen. The question is really, do you want to be a part of making it happen or not? That's what it boils down to. And I know many of you have had that tugging in your heart. Same one that I've had. And I'm just a regular guy. I'm nobody special. I guarantee you I'm nobody special. But I am in the eyes of Hashem. And each one of you are as well. Male, female, you're all special in the eyes of Hashem. So in closing, Noahide Nation is going to provide a path by which people can gain the knowledge and the confidence to teach the Noahide laws, to be able to speak to Christians when it becomes necessary and they come forth to you, because Hashem's going to bring them to you. And then as part of the International Torah Fellowship, you'll be able to learn more. I don't know if some of you may have been able to meet with Rabbi Hanan Schlesinger yesterday. He was a rabbi who handled the Kollel here in Dallas. And he's now put that aside. He's now teaching courses. And he's agreed to teach Noahides ongoing advanced education in Torah. And I've already talked to a few rabbis about this particular rabbi, and they're all in agreement that he's a good man. In fact, he worked, most of his work came through the Yeshiva University. You may have heard that mentioned from time to time. It's a rather large place, special place. So we're putting things in place to be able to make this happen. And I hope that you will come forward and make it happen with us, because again, I can't do it by myself. John, you can't do it by yourself. Charles, you can't do it by yourself. Doug can't do it by himself. We have to do this as a team. And there is no I in team. I hate to use the cliche, but it is so true. There's no I in team, folks. We're in this together. Or are we? So that's kind of leading up to, but yeah, let's go ahead and open the floor for questions.
Will there be any time, perhaps during this break or other breaks, where we can kind of semi-formally get together rather than just hang out to discuss in a kind of a structured fashion how the people here can work together as a team to make this growth happen. You mentioned each person talking to their friends and so forth, but is there a step beyond that where people in a more structured format can help Noahide nations grow? And I thought that if people got somehow did brainstorming, things would come up as ideas that would come up.
Don't get the microphone for him.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
So, do you think there might be an opportunity during our conference here where that kind of the brainstorming might happen?
I would say absolutely. We have half-hour breaks. We have a rather extended break here this afternoon prior to Sam's concert. We have now a 2-hour men's session on Monday, which we can talk about those things as well. Yes, ma'am.
For those of us who are remote from like the people in Texas, how is it that we can become involved to be a part of that team? In our area, there's only 2 of us, and we don't even have a synagogue where we live that we could even attend.
Okay, are you saying there's only 2 people who live in town?
There's only 2. No, I'm saying there's only 2 people who are Noahides. But what I'm saying is, in other words, there's not really a group that. How can the people who live far away from you help you in what the other Noahides are doing, where there's a lot of people that are gathered together?
Well, it's actually not about helping me. It's about us helping you. This may surprise you. 2 Noahides in an area in this day and age would be considered a group. That's small, yes, but everyone starts out small. What you need to kind of look towards is what can you do to bring a few people in your community together. Noahide Nations will help on kind of on the big picture kind of things. We can help write ads. How do you talk to a religious journalist who might come and do an interview with you? How do you get to Noahide? We've had, when we were in Killeen, we had writers, journalists come over and watch an Erev Shabbat service, take pictures, ask questions, write a whole story on our group, our little group. So how do you do things like that? How do you make those things happen? That's what the International Torah Fellowship is really all about, is how to expand in that way so that you can help expand your area. That's what it's about. It's not about Noahide Nations. We're here to help. But there needs to be groups. The model, we see it in every Jewish community around the country. They have the model. They started out with a shul and a home. And they've evolved into these huge communities in synagogues. How? Is it because they were already there and they just didn't know it? No. People were drawn to it.
Right, so we can get the questions on the tape. If you can repeat the question up there, or if you're a Noahide, go up to the microphone, you can ask it from the microphone. That way we can get it on tape.
Okay. Well, that was a question about how can they get involved with Noahide Nations, and you can get involved with Noahide Nations by getting in touch with me. But our goal is a big picture goal, and we do want you to be a part of that big picture goal, because part of that big picture goal is to take your group of 2 and make it 3, and make it 4, make it 5, because it's going to happen. It's really just a matter of, are you going to help Hashem make the thing happen? People are out there, they're hungry for this knowledge, this wisdom. They're disenchanted with their current belief system, but they stay in the rut because there's nowhere else to go. They don't know where to go. You could run a simple ad in a classified section. In fact, if you tell them that you're with Noahide Nations, oftentimes they'll give it to you for free in the religious ad section, that you're having a Bible study at Denny's on such and such a day at such and such a time. Come 15 minutes early, I'll buy the first round of coffee. And you don't stand there and tell them that, well, I'm a Noahide, and here's what we're going to talk about. You just start reading the Torah. Start in Genesis 1:1, in the beginning. Because now it is, in the beginning. Something as simple as that will amaze you, the returns you could see from that. But you have to do it. You can't just think it to happen. You have to make it happen. And that's what we hope to be able to help people to do. Yes, sir. Oh, you're going to be tough on me, aren't you?
Well, you said do it. I was looking at the schedule. How about a 5 to 6 o'clock brainstorming session? I think we had a tremendous idea here, and we've got an extended break. So that would be the first one. Number 2.
All right, let's address that right now. Do you want to have that right here between 5 and 6 o'clock?
Okay, I'll be there.
We have a show of hands, okay.
Okay. And we'll draft someone like Gilda to take notes. She's
Okay.
here. She heard me.
If I could kind of take that back, during that time, I guess the session's going to end at, what time was it, 5? I don't recall the schedule. 5 o'clock, okay. I apologize. We have to allow the Sheridan staff to come in. They're clearing out all of these round tables, so make sure you take everything at the end of this day with you, because they're going to set this up in theater seating for the concert tonight. So thank you for reminding me of that. So
Well,
5 to
maybe we
6.
can find
So
another
this can
location.
still happen over in the restaurant over in the corner. There's tables, a big, huge table out here in the center.
Shown by the hotel manager, this is not staff now, that on the 12th floor, there is a room about 50% to double the size of the eating room we're eating in now. That's large enough for a fairly...
Okay, then in that case, then I'll have to meet everybody at the elevator who's going to be there at 5 o'clock, and I'll take you up to the 12th floor. Because I know right where it is. You can only get there if you have a key. I have a key. It's okay. You have to realize there's other people on the floor that might also be using it.
At 5:30, yeah, I'm sorry, that's not a good place. 5:30, they open it up for the club members to come in and get snacks and so.
I think so. And
That's not a good place.
okay, Mary might have a suggestion.
My concern is that that is open for other guests on those 2 floors at that time. So I don't know that the hotel would be happy with us.
So
fact, it
we got
probably
an
wouldn't
hour to
be.
figure something out.
All right, but I think there's at least a partial consensus that it would be doable.
So if we can find a place, we'll have a brainstorming session.
By the elevators in the lobby at 5 o'clock to see where we're going to go.
Sounds good.
Okay?
Number 2, for your quest to be recognized. Anita, do we have a congressional recognition of the Noahides that Vendel had the resolution? I think we should have that available, a copy of that available, so that if any of our groups do seek recognition, that would be very good.
That is going to be part of the plan, and in fact, I'll go ahead and elaborate a little bit more on what Rabbi Brody literally said to me. And these are his words. He said, Ray, I'm talking about a Noahide ordination program. His words, not mine. His. That's when I knew what we were attempting to do is the right thing to do. It was Hashem telling me through Rabbi Brody, this is the right thing to do. And
One of the suggestions about the mezzanine has open seating. Did we decide where the meeting was going to be or
No.
not?
Still open.
Okay. This gentleman suggested the mezzanine might have a large open area for seating.
So we just need to find out and announce it in the next session.
Yeah, and
Okay.
if we can get to cut the Q&A short, I want to give everybody a break before the next speaker.
One last third
Good.
thing. I said I had 3 things.
okay.
We need Noahide speakers to go to someone's community to speak on the 7 laws of Noah, where they could not only advertise, put an ad in, but they're going to have a speaker from this group so that this would be something that would draw people, someone that was studied and learned, to get a group started where there's just a few and they want to get started. So those are my three.
And I think that's a great idea, and I kind of see that as being a real powerful thing later on down the road. I think it would be great if we were to have some rabbis who would be willing to assist in that area, because they're already doing a lot of traveling around the United States. Now it's a matter of how can we get them hooked up together and get them into Noahide communities at the time that it's necessary, so that you can draw in a number of people.
Why not that military chaplain?
That's
Because I think people identify more with someone that is closer to them than maybe somebody who's not close to them. And rabbis, Judaism, they seem far away from them. But a military chaplain that has status and we can talk about it.
okay. I would have to wait until a military Noahide chaplain retired in order to get him to go around the country. So we might have a little wait on that one. But it's a great idea, and that's what we're working towards. That's the future. It's what you're talking about. That's the future. I wish it was now, but it's not right now. We're trying to make it happen, and we can. It's just a matter of, do we want to? Do we have the will to? So thank you, folks. I really appreciate you hanging with me on all of this.
Ray.
Open my lips to sing your praise, my heart to feel the joy. Let me have the gift for which I'm yearning. Another night in Israel. Desert flowers blooming in the spring, the grapes upon the vine. Let me walk the beaches in the moonlight. Let me fall in love